On the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, Darren back with you here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles. Glad to have you with us today. It has rained today. We're in the first week of July. We have not had any measurable rain on our farm since June 10th. We have been Sahara Desert bone dry. It has been sweltering hot and no rain to speak of. Last week we had a shower one evening that lasted literally for about 10 minutes. Not even enough to measure how much rain we got. The rain gauge didn't even really move. Today we had some pretty strong thunderstorms blow through. I came out here to the farm to attempt to record this video, and the storms ran me in, poured the rain for a little while, and then a steady rain for a little while. We didn't get a lot of rain, but we got a lot of lightning and a lot of thunder. We're supposed to maybe get some more tonight. Hopefully, we got our fingers crossed. We need the rain bad. Our hay fields have just stopped growing. They regrew really well from our first cut for a couple of weeks, and now they're just in a, I wouldn't say dormant, but almost a dormant stage. They're just not growing right now. This rain should perk them up. Our test plot could be cut any time, but we've been holding off waiting for some significant rain before we do that. If you watched our heat wave video, you know what I'm talking about. But today we did get almost a ½ inch rain. And thank you, Lord, for the rain. We'll take every drop of rain we can get. So, we had a viewer request a video. Life is Good, the handle they go by, requested that we make a video of the mini round baler, what to do to that baler to prepare it or prep it for hay baling. If you've had it in winter storage and you're bringing it out for the first cut of the year, what steps do we go through to ensure that our baler is in tip-top shape, ready to go? So we're going to walk you through that. Disclaimer up front: if you have different steps that you take to prep your baler than what we do, there is no wrong or right way. As long as you're making sure your fluids and all that stuff and everything's ready. How we do it and how you do it, your mileage may vary, but we're going to show you, since we were requested, what we do to ensure that our baler is ready to go. We've pulled our baler out of the barn. We've hooked it to our tractor with our drawbar, and we've pulled it out of the barn just for demonstration purposes for this video. You will notice our limiter chains are not hooked up and all that type of stuff. Our PTO is not on the baler to the tractor. We've hooked up the minimum just to pull it out of the barn and get it out here into the outside to be able to film this video. The first thing we do when we're ready to start baling is our PTO shaft. We start at the front of the baler closest to the tractor and work our way back to ensure everything is in prime, tip-top ready shape. First thing we do is grease our U-joints on our PTO shaft. Just hook that grease gun to those grease zerts, give it a couple of pumps in each one, and move on. The next thing we'll do is check the oil level in the gearbox. The main gearbox. Here's the main gearbox. You can see right up on the top, right in here, is the seal. That's where you add gear oil. It has a sight window over on the other side of this cover. I'll show you that in a moment. The gearbox takes 80 weight 90 gear oil. The gearbox capacity is 7/10 of a quart or 650 milliliters. How you check the gear oil in this gearbox is right here. That is a sight window. If you look, I don't know how well the camera's going to show this because of this is the only angle I can really get to it. But if you're somewhere where the light's not real good, all you got to do is just get a flashlight and shine right here on this window. There is a glass window right there that you can see the oil level. Make sure your oil level is in that window. If the oil level is not up to that window, you need to add gear oil. Very simple. The next thing we will do, folks, is adjust our tine pickup. And over here to the right side of your baler, if you're facing the baler, is your transport bar to pull this tine pickup up or down. You pull it up for transport, down for baling. And you can see this move. It has a chain limiter right here. Okay. And when we're ready to bale, we will let it down. And I will check the distance from the ground. I can see how close that is. It's about 1 inch off the ground to pick up hay. Okay, we're good there. And this is very easily adjustable by chain links right here. All right, the chain pickup is good, so that would be our next step. We'll put it back into the transport mode. Okay, folks, the next thing that I check, the worm gear oil. Right here. This is your worm gear box right here. It operates this worm gear right through here. It also takes 80 weight 90, and it holds the capacity of this worm gear box is 0.3 liters or 0.31 quarts. So just a little over 1/3 of a quart. That's all it takes. That's a very small gearbox, but a very important gearbox. This thing goes bad, runs dry, and you've got problems, bad problems. Keep this checked. This worm gear operates your twine arm. One thing I've had some questions about the twine wrap arm itself is, hey, how do if I am baling hay and I am finished and I've picked up all my hay out of my field and I have half of a bale in my chamber, I don't want that bale to sit in my chamber all winter long. I'm the same way. How do I manually twine wrap that bale? Because this thing will not automatically start wrapping until the bale reaches a certain density. So if it's only a half a bale, how do I start it to twine wrap so I can eject that bale? There's 2 ways. Let me show you how. Never, never, never grab this twine arm and start pushing it, trying to make it go down, or pull it up. You will ruin your worm gear box. Never, never, never do that. Never force this twine arm. There is 2 ways to twine wrap any size bale you want and eject it. The first way is right here. If you can see on top of this worm gear box right here, there is a lever right here. My finger is touching it. It's a silver lever with well, this one's got a little bit of green paint on it, but that lever right there, I wished I could get the camera in there a little better. Okay, that's a better view. Right here. Okay, if I push that lever that way, this twine arm's going to fall. That is the worm gearbox override lever. That is the easiest way to do it. Okay, now when you do this, if you push that lever, the twine arm's going to fall. Never, never, never get in here and push that lever with this baler running. Never have your arm anywhere near this twine wrap arm. It's got these really heavy springs on it and it could hurt you. Stay out of the way. come to the side, reach in from the side right here, and give that tab right there a good hard push that way. This twine arm will fall. And when it falls, then get back on your tractor, start the tractor, start your PTO back, and it'll take off twine wrapping. Then you can eject the bale as normal. Okay, there is another way. This is the way I recommend. This is the second way you can make that twine arm fall. And you're gonna see this way takes a lot longer. This way will work without damaging anything. But this is not the recommended way. Okay, if you open the left side of the baler, right here you're gonna see the big white twine wrap pulley. It's got all the grooves in it that your twine goes through. Okay, take the twine out of the grooves and take it off. Start turning this pulley by hand clockwise. You'll see the twine arm start going down as you're turning it. When it reaches all the way down, then get back on the tractor, put your twine back in the groove, the appropriate groove that you like, back on your tractor, start your tractor, turn your PTO on, and it'll start twine wrapping. A quick note on the twine wrap arm. When you buy your baler, it comes with that twine arm all the way down. You've got to get your twine arm in the proper position to start baling. When you start turning this wheel clockwise, you'll see that twine arm start coming up, and it'll come all the way up. Keep turning this wheel, and when you see that twine arm kind of start back toward the middle, all of a sudden it'll kind of fall. When it falls and stops at that point where it goes like that, that's the timing you want. Right there's where you start baling at. If you try to start baling with the arm way over here or down, or well, if it's down, it's going to catch the twine and start twine wrapping. But if you start trying to start your bale with it way up here or way over here, and you're picking up hay, your twine wrap's going to be very out of time, out of sequence. Just like this. Pretend my arm is the twine wrap arm. When you buy the baler, it's going to be down in that port. Start turning this by hand, this white pulley clockwise. That arm's going to start coming up, up, up. It's going to come over to here. Then it's going to get to about right here, and you're going to notice it jump. It's going to go like that, right there. That's beginning time. When you want to start baling with your baler, that's where your twine wrap arm needs to be. If you've had your baler in storage for a year or longer or something like that, it's a good idea to check that. Go ahead, while this baler is not running, you've not hooked up your PTO shaft, but you're getting ready to use it, go ahead and push this override gear, let that twine arm fall, take the twine out of your grooves and just let it hang here. Start turning that pulley clockwise till that twine arm comes up, over, and gets about there and jumps like that. Stop. Put your twine back on in the groove that you prefer for however many twine wraps you like, and you're ready to start baling. If my baler's been sitting real long, and I do this even when it's not been sitting long, if I'm just in between first and second cut, I open this left side guard door and I check all my pulleys to make sure my tensioners are still in good shape right here, and make sure my twine is still in all these pulleys. Make sure it comes right over to here, right through that pulley, right through a pulley right down there, right up through the pulley there. Make sure that this thing has not just sit over winter and a mouse got in there or something and chewed through your twine, or somehow or another the twine has jumped off of one of these pulleys somewhere, make sure everything is still as it should be before you start baling. That can save you a headache with you get a full bale in your chamber and all of a sudden it's time to twine wrap and this twine arm falls, and all of a sudden your twine down in here just makes a bird's nest, gets in a huge mess for some reason, that maybe your twine has come off this pulley and got wrapped around under it or something like that. It could just create havoc. Make sure your twine is in all the pulleys and all the grooves that it should be. Next thing we check, hydraulic fluid, self-contained hydraulic system. This cap right here has a dipstick on it. Undo this cap, check your level of your hydraulic fluid. You can see the label there, capacity 1.1 liter, and it says ISO VG68 AW hydraulic oil. Use whatever hydraulic fluid you prefer. Okay, make sure you check your hydraulic fluid. Okay, and the hydraulic system, come up and make sure your valve here, it's closed. That will make this cylinder stop wherever it's at. Make sure it's open. This controls the speed of the bale door, how fast or slow you want that bale door to open. Next step, we pre-oil our chain drive system. This baler does indeed have a self-oiling system on it. Mounted all to the baler. Nothing has to go to your tractor. However, we pre-oil all of our chain drive systems. And if you don't have a oil can, you need to get one. Get you an oil can and go around and pre-lube, pre-oil your chain drive system. This nice long spout, you can reach in there and get to places. Darren, what kind of oil do you have in that? The manual calls for all this air tool oil, all this type of stuff for that self-contained oiling system. What do I have in this? I have non-detergent 10W40. I think non-detergent is important. That's my opinion. A non-detergent 10W40 motor oil is what I use. You can go to the auto parts store and buy motorcycle chain oil if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. I can buy non-detergent 10W40 oil, probably 2 or 3, 4 quarts of it for what I pay for one of that Honda brand or whatever, Yamaha chain oil. Just makes sense. Next thing we check is our automatic oiler reservoir. You can see the lid for it there. This back panel comes off pretty easily. You take this knobbed bolt off this one, and why Redlands did not put knobbed bolts on the back here, I do not know. It's this one and this one. Take these 2 bolts out. I think they're 13 millimeter, and this panel will come right off. You can refill this oil. Put whatever oil you choose in it. Now, if you're concerned about warranty or something like that on your baler, follow what they say. I put air tool oil in mine for a long time, and it still has it in it. I'm using up what I have left. When I get done with that air tool oil, I will probably just put 10W40 in it. That's me. Your mileage may vary. If you're concerned about your baler and using the correct oil and everything that it says, then by all means do that. Next thing to do, after you grease your PTO shaft, don't put your grease gun up just yet. Right here is a grease cert. Right here. This is what the bale door opens and closes off of. This is the pivot point. Right there is a grease zert, and you can see on top it has a grease symbol. And on the other side, same thing. Right here's one, and right there's the grease zert. Give those a couple of shots of grease. We're finished with this side. Now we're going to the right side of the baler. We're going to come around, we're going to open this, what I call the right side will be if you're looking at the baler. Okay, we're going to take these door knobs out. And we're going to open up this right side. Okay, here's where the majority of your chain drive is. Right back to what we were doing earlier. Grab your oil can, pre-lube this chain and all these gears around here. Just give it an overall look to make sure that none of the chains are out of their grooves or off their sprockets. That everything looks good. No sprockets obviously missing any teeth or anything like that. And you're good to go. That's basically it. One thing about the automatic oiler for the other side, and you can see these clear tubes running, that's where the automatic oiler is bringing oil over, and there's a bunch of them back in here. Okay, this baler, this particular baler, I have found that when I start baling and I turn that automatic oiler on it, when I open that reservoir line, I have to barely crack it open. If I open that very much, it just pours the oil out. I don't know if I've just got a bad valve in there or what. I've not looked into that yet. But it works fine if I just barely crack it open. When I first started using this baler, I turned the valve on, and the first couple of bales I spit out, the very ends of the bales was soaked in oil, indicating that that oil was just pouring out onto these chain drives. So much so it was running into the bale chamber. And cut everything off, got out, took the cover off, looked, and my reservoir went from full to only had about maybe 1.5 inches in it. After baling like 3 bales. So I lost a lot of oil. And I found that if I just barely crack that thing open, it works just fine. Your mileage may vary. Keep a check on that. See how much oil's going out of your reservoir. Usually a full tank will last me the whole season. Fill it up once per season. I usually do that in the spring. And that reservoir of oil lasts me the whole year. And I have seen people baling with these little balers with all these guard doors and side panels off. Don't do that. That's dangerous. These things are on there for a reason, to protect you, protect anybody around your baler. If you got somebody picking up bales, whatever, while this thing's running. It also kind of shields it from somewhat from the chaff and everything getting in there and tangled up in your chains, your gear, in your sprockets, all that. Keep those covers on. And I saw not long ago of a guy using a drum mower, and I cringed the whole time I saw him. But he was using a drum mower with no skirt on that thing. And you could see the debris just flying. Super, super dangerous. I just cringed when I thought, surely this guy's not going to mow with that no skirt on that thing. If a blade flies off that drum mower somehow without a skirt on there, no skirts are heavy. Would a blade go through that skirt? Very possibly, but it's going to significantly slow it down. A rock, a blade, you hit a pretty good sized rock and chips of that rock go flying, Man, that is so dangerous. I would not even start to use my drum mower without the skirt attached and down. If my skirt gets damaged to the point that it's got, it's got tears and rips in it, I'd be ordering a new skirt ASAP before I used it. Think safety. One other thing I'll address with this baler, and this is a negative. I don't like this about this baler. And any baler in this design, there's several different companies making balers in this design, is this back cover that covers the rollers on the bale door. When you're baling hay and this baler is running, it's picking up hay, there are chaff and pieces of hay that will come into that chamber. And here's this, my hand is going to be like this cover piece. Okay, and here's the rollers. There's going to be hay that's going to get in behind those rollers up against this cover. You can't get it out. It's terrible. It'll pack in there like nothing you've ever seen. You have to take this cover off to get that stuff out. You can start your baler, raise the bale door, have someone to turn this lever, this valve, and shut the fluid off that'll keep the door up, and get you a 4x4 or 6x6 and prop under this bale door. Now, under no circumstances put yourself under that bale door. If that thing comes down on you, you're gonna have a bad day. Once you get it open, cut the tractor off, cut the PTO off, and just with your leaf blower, get under there and blow up under here, and some of it will come out, but not all of it. To get it out, you have to take this off. In order to take this back cover off, it's a chore. There's 3 bolts on the top you have to take off. Well, the first thing you have to do is take off your hydraulic arm. You don't have to take the whole thing off, but you have to take it off from here at the end. Take this bolt out, make sure your valve's closed. Take this out, and the hydraulic arm will fold back out of the way. Then you can take those 3 bolts out, and there is 7 bolts on each side, a 10 millimeter and a 13 millimeter. Take them all off, and then this cover will come off. I took mine off, a couple of weeks ago after our first cut, and I'll insert a picture right here of what it looked like under this cover. Packed in there. Sometimes I wonder how those rollers keep moving with that hay packed in there that bad. Opinion. That's a design flaw. It would be okay. I understand some hay getting in behind there. If they would have designed this back cover like they have the side doors, where you had bolts with knobs on them, and all you had to do is take a couple of knobs off, and this thing just slid off, and you could just clean it out and put it right back on. It's a major, well, maybe I shouldn't use the word major. It's a pain in the butt to take that thing off. The smaller 10 millimeter bolts here, they also hold a tab that sticks out both sides, 2 on each side, that the back covers bolt to. Okay, when you take those loose, you also have to take these side ones off, because they're just going to fall off. Well, they're not going to fall off if you've still got them attached with your knob to bolts up here. But when you take these loose, it loosens that tab. It's a pain in the rear. You have to reach way in from the side back in here with a wrench to put on the nut on the back, and then a socket up here to turn them and get that off. to my knowledge, all the balers of this design are the same way. You need to take this back cover off. Now, your mileage may vary. This is my opinion, twice a year. Take it off at mid-season. If you have 3 cuts a year, take it off somewhere after the first or the second cutting. Clean this out. Pull all that old hay out. Put the cover back on. And do it again at the very end of season before you store it. That way, next season, it's already clean. You don't want all that crap sitting in there all winter against those rollers anyway. Get it out of there. To me, that's a design flaw. They should have come up with some better system to be able to clean the back of this out. This is not a major thing to take this cover off, but it's not a 5-minute job either. Every time I've taken mine off, it's taken me 35, 40 minutes to get all this loose, all the side panels off, all the bolts out of it, cleaned out, and put back on. It's not a short job. That's why I do it twice a year. I would suggest doing that. There's a few things about this baler that I would change in a heartbeat. One would be the way the twine bale sits for it to use the twine. In the United States, most of the twine you buy is designed to come from the inside of the bale of twine, not the outside. And the rod here that holds this one is really made for jute twine that comes from the outside, and that may be commonplace in other countries, not here. The next thing I would change would be gathering wheels for this baler. It desperately needs gathering wheels. We are going to go into getting some gathering wheels and designing them for this baler eventually. Right now it's not in our budget, but we will eventually. And a better way to take this back panel off, that's a poor design. But overall, this baler is very robustly built. It's a good baler, made in India. I really like this little baler. For the money you spend on this baler, it's fantastic. If IHI, it's a Japanese-made baler, if IHI made a twine wrap model, I don't know, I might be getting one. But they don't. All the IHI balers I've saw are net wrap, and this is personal opinion. I don't care for net wrap. I want a twine model, and I've been very happy with this baler. A few things I'd change about it. Of course, if you go buy a brand new pickup truck, a Chevrolet, a Ford, or a Dodge, or whatever, after you've driven that vehicle for 6-8 months, there are going to be some things you wish was different. Some things we can modify, some things we can't. Now, bear in mind, if we modify things, some people might say, oh, that's going to void your warranty. The warranty's out on ours anyway. We don't care. And this is my equipment. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do to make it work for me. As Tom over at Chigger Hill Adventure says, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make it work for me. I'm in that same boat. So I hope this has been some help to the viewer that requested this video. I think he goes by Life is Good, and I appreciate that, or her. I appreciate that very much. We appreciate you watching and being interested in this small scale hay equipment. We're very happy with ours. Like I said a few moments ago, no matter what you buy, after you use it for a while, there's going to be some things you wish were a little different. We are in no way, shape, or form sponsored by Redlands or Maxx or no other company. We have no sponsors or nothing like that, so we have no reason to suggest things to do or not do. We're just going to share with you what works for us. It may not work for you. Your situation may be very different. Just like with a drum mower, The cut height lift adjustment kit we did with our drum mower works great for us. I've heard some reports of other people that it doesn't work that great for them. And I think one reason is because our fields are really smooth and good hay fields, hardly no rocks, no bad bumpy places. The roughest field we have is our reclaimed hay field, and it's still not that rough, but it's rougher than the rest of them. I think some people install those spacers to raise their cut height, and their fields are really bumpy, really rough, and their cut's not as smooth as what they see we're getting, and they're scratching their head wondering why. I always suggest start out with only 1 or 2 spacers, and if you get a good cut, look at your cut. If you want to go a little higher, add another one, maybe 2 at a time. Don't go to throwing 8 or 10 of those things on there at once. Just because it works for us and our smooth fields don't necessarily mean it'll work for you. Same with this baler. Any modifications we've done or that we're going to do in the future, don't necessarily expect to have the same results we do. Because your situation and your fields, your tractor, your totality of the circumstances, in other words, may be very different from ours. The only other thing I would suggest to do is make sure your tires have proper air pressure in them at the beginning of season. And if you notice one of them looking a little flat, maybe not as much air in it as it should have, then keep an eye on the pressure in those tires. Because if one gets low, your baler's going to start sitting like this, and you could start scrubbing sod with your pickup teeth. Make sure your tires are up good at the beginning of the season, and just glance at them occasionally. Make sure everything's up good. We're going to be trying out a new baling twine. You may see it on, I've already threaded it onto the baler for our second cut. Just found this baling twine this year. Never saw it in this area before. Bought it. I think this stuff is going to be the bomb when it comes to these balers and sisal twine. I don't know yet. If it works real good, I'll do a follow-up video on it later and show that to you. If it don't work good, then there's no need to even show it. But we got high hopes with that twine. I think it's going to work really good, that sisal twine. So thanks for being with us here this evening on the farm. We got some rain today. Praise the Lord. Almost a ½ inch. We need it bad. We're hoping to cut our test plot maybe next week. If we can stay in a little bit of a rainy pattern. Of course, we need a window to cut and to get dry down. But if we can get some rainfall every so often to keep our hay growing decently, we're going to cut that test plot. It's ready. It's very ready. Some of it's seed headed that didn't seed head earlier in the year. Most of your cool season grasses will go into the reproductive stage where the seed head once per year. And the ones that had not went yet into the seed head stage are there now. And it's mostly leafy matter, leafy vegetable matter, which is top shelf premium hay. And it's so thick you can walk on it. Not as much volume, but the quality is no comparison to our first cut. It's ready to cut if we can just get the weather right. Thanks for being with us this gorgeous afternoon on the farm. And I say gorgeous because we got some rain. It's still really cloudy. Our temperature dropped from earlier today at 91. It's now 76 degrees, hitting that nice. And we got a ½ inch of rain this evening, along with some storms. We had some pretty fierce lightning around here for a couple hours. I came out earlier to do this video and just put everything up and went back home for a little while. Now the rain has appeared to move on out, and they're saying maybe a chance of some more rain tonight. We got our fingers crossed that happens because it's bone dry here. This rain's really going to help things. Thanks for being with us today, and I hope this video on what we do to prepare this little baler for baling season It's the same thing we do before we use it every time. We go through everything on it and make sure everything looks good, make sure everything's pre-oiled, all the twine is routed correctly, time pickup adjusted right, iron the tires, PTO, greased and all the grease joints, and oil levels good. Once you do your initial spring prep, the rest of the year it's just checking things to make sure everything's still at those levels. You can do it pretty quickly. Even with the things about this baler that I would change, for the price you pay for this baler brand new, is still a bargain. We're quite happy with it. Thanks for being with us today here on the farm. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't. We'd really appreciate that. And we pray that God blesses you and your family. Hope y'all have a fantastic evening.